Well, I'd like to thank so much all of our presenters. It was riveting as always. And I would like to, as promised, open the floor for questions for any of our presenters. And I see Maxime with the first question.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a question for our first speaker today, Mr. Moimir Zaleshak. So you had a very interesting presentation, great presentation about the story of your life and what you've accomplished, your past. And so my question is what your plans for the future are in terms of your studies, investing, and maybe the place where you'll want to stay eventually. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to finish Stern. That's my first focus. It's not easy, but of course that's my primary focus. Then I would like to get some work experience here in the U.S. I think it's another differentiating factor from peers back home. But in the long term, I would probably like to return back to Europe. I don't know if specifically to Prague, but I want to be closer to home. And I view the US as a great experience to network, expand my horizons, and just get the best education possible in my field.
I think there is a mistake in the program, Susanna, because it says you're 20 years old.
No.
So I would like to know, so in 5 years, you're head of a company, you already sold your shares in another company. Just, I think Warren Buffett is the only other guy who managed to do that at this age. Were there any obstacles in your life so far?
Definitely. I wanted to actually, if I had time, I would mention that in the final slide. But there were many shortcomings in my life. I think it's part of the process. I failed many times, as could have been seen with the Wharton investment competition, which was like kind of the first challenge I had to overcome. Then there were many issues I had to overcome with the projects I ran or the companies. But I kind of want to say that the way I approach these things is that they are a natural part of life. I like stoicism and the stoic approach that things could always get worse, and that if you approach these shortcomings and negative outcomes positively, things will always turn out the way they're actually meant to be. And so that's the way I try to approach life. It has worked so far, but of course I fail as everybody does. But I try to learn from it and do better next time.
Another question for any presenter.
Okay, thank you. So first, I just wanted to say big thank you because one presentation was better than another, and so much art. It was like so beautiful, but it's almost hard to ask questions about art. It's just to be perceived. So I now want to go and to see more of this art, like in person. I actually have questions just for Josef Scharfen. So you mentioned you help companies to relocate to US. So are these companies like leaving Europe and you help them to settle here, or is it more like that they're extending but they still keep their European base?
Yeah, it really depends. Most of them are actually just expanding their operations, and yeah, it really depends on the type of company. What's what's actually good for their business model. But yeah, some of them definitely then actually convert their companies where the Czech parent company becomes a subsidiary of the U.S. company. So yeah, that happens quite often.
And if it happens, what is it that like makes them like or appreciate US more than the Czech market and Czech like business culture? What is it?
Again, it really depends on what type of industry the company is in. But generally speaking, for B2C and B2B markets, like both of them, actually, the markets are incomparable. It's, there are as many businesses here as there are people in the Czech Republic. So obviously the economy is so much larger and the opportunities are, any sort of business at that larger scale is going to be more interesting than at a much smaller scale. And I think for manufacturing companies lately, it's also like, I guess like the ease of doing business and energy prices. That's a big driving force of some of the decisions.
No, I was also interested in if it's something about the culture, because often I hear like in Europe, people like in general, but especially in business, tend to like too much focus on things. Here you iterate very quickly, like are not afraid of experimenting. If that's something that maybe attracts people.
Yeah, I think so. Like especially like in tech sectors, some sort of like innovative technologies. Like we have a client that does robotic imaging of some really cool stuff. It's basically used for like testing materials, non-destructive testing. And like their entire point is that the adoption of new technologies is much quicker here than in Europe.
Yeah, I was asking based on my experience in tech, so you confirm that. That's
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, I'll give the floor to somebody else.
Well, I have a question for Irena. You were very fast, and so I was wondering, did I miss a link in how you got a sort of two or three part question, how you got connected into the world of burlesque, and then kind of how things spread from there? Was it just word of mouth, or how did that go? I mean, you seem to have spread like a virus.
Yes. So I was dancing competitively, and so I started doing dresses as well. And then suddenly I was I stopped, we were done competing 2008, and I missed it. It was suddenly vacuum, because I would work in the dental laboratory, and then I would go training every day for 2-3 hours, and then suddenly it was over, just devastating. And so I was still working in the dental lab, and I took a burlesque class, and they taught us how to make pasties. And I ran home, I was like, I'm gonna try it myself. And I did it. I was like, wait a minute, this is combining my love for collage. And then I was also making jewelry. 2004, I was selling jewelry in Williamsburg on North 8. There's a big market. And, but I could not like push through. Like I didn't want to do the teeth anymore. It was terrible. It was good, but it was too much. I worked in the boutique lab, and it was nice, but I was like, I need to find something. And suddenly this whole thing opened for me, because nobody was doing it the way I was imagining to do it. Like it has to be, I was like, wait a minute, nobody's really doing it. So, but I'm so glad you asked me, because this is really cool story. Because I was sitting at home, I was like, I have so many ideas. And then my brain started clicking. Well, nobody sees into your brain. Make it, just show it what you can do. And I was like, I'm not a business person. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I never went to business school. So I said, well, find that one thing, what you really admire around you as a consumer, like person who was my phone. I was like, well, let me see. Cell phone, Apple. What do I admire about Apple is reliability, is customer service, and that you can recognize the design everywhere. And so I literally took that and I adapted to my business, that's what happened. And it worked. Word of mouth, Instagram, posting every day like a maniac. I quit my job. I had $1,000 in my saving account. I quit. I just literally dropped my instrument. I was like, I'm done. And yeah, that's how it happened. It's crazy, but it happened. You have to have a fire underneath, like you have to do it. Oh, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. It started in New York, and I would go from show to show. I would make friends, and I would show them the pasties. I had this little old olive oil. It came with olive oil, little trunk. I would be like a little agent. I'd be like, look what I have. And they were like, oh my God, can you do this? Can you do this? And I would always say yes, and I didn't know how to do it. I was like, how am I going to make the bra? I never did that. So I bought a bra and I cut out the cups, and I looked at Britney Spears videos. I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. And I figured it out as I went. It was fun. And also, as a kid, I was playing with beads. And I was separating the sizes and the colors. And 2 days ago, somebody sent me a bag of beads. I was like, I need to separate the sizes and colors. I was like, wait a minute, I did this when I was 8. So yeah, you gotta do.
I love the variations we've had this evening on the theme of follow your dreams. It's really inspiring. A question here.
Yeah. I want to ask Michal, were your parents ever like against anything that you wanted to do?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think your parents are in the room. So, sure, as you saw from my school results, I don't mean the mathematics and literature, but my behavior. I was a rebel, so my parents didn't like it. They wanted me to be perfect in every sense, but I made my own choices and my own path.
Good answer. Another question for any of our fascinating speakers.
I have a question for Lenka. Obviously, you're singing these poems in English. Did you also translate them, or were you the translator?
Yeah, actually, I have the first album the one that won the prize was in Czech. That was in the original. And then just recently, I decided that even though people like it musically, but they don't understand any of it. And even though there's a booklet or whatever, but nobody buys albums anymore, and Spotify and all that doesn't have the booklets with it. So I thought it was only fair that it should also come out in English. So this last album is most of the same ones in English and then some other ones as well, but it's in English. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see one more question here from one of our most persistent audience members.
Yeah, I actually have questions, one for Jan and one for Chris. So Chris, you said you prefer acting over modeling, and I kind of understand that. But is there something you don't like about acting? Because from my limited exposure, it seems it's still a lot of waiting before something happens. So is there something you still don't like, or do you now feel like this is it? This is what you want to do for the rest of your life? And then I'll have one more question.
Yes, so one of the most challenging things for me is crying and be vulnerable on a camera. So I had really big problem with this like forever, and but I found a trick. So there exists this thing which you put under your eyes and it starts to water, and it helps me to bring the emotion. Of course, that's not gonna do the whole acting thing. You still have to bring the emotion, but that's something I still definitely struggle to be vulnerable. And other than that, I would say nothing more. I'm very used to be in front of the camera, so I don't have problem with that anymore. But yeah, it's definitely difficult field. I mean, I started, let's say, I jumped into it only like 6 months ago, and I'm definitely ready to level up. But it's just so competitive here. I knew it's gonna be competitive, but I didn't think it's gonna be that crazy. Okay, so I'm just gonna see how everything's gonna go. Thank you.
And I wanted to ask Jan, so thank you for your presentation, but you didn't tell us why you came here. What are you doing in New York City? What brought you here?
Thank you for a wonderful question. It's also a question for me. Kind of, I think I maybe said it, but I was too fast. That I miss it in my school. That I've never been for internship somewhere because I had career, I had a boyfriend. I was fear of lose something. But like I think pretty long for 7 years, I miss it kind of. And I'm really happy in Czech Republic, and yeah, but I try to find way how to go somewhere, and New York came to me. First time it was 2 years ago. I was here with Constanza Makras, with the Berlin choreographer. We were in a BAM for the festival, and it was amazing. And one producer from here, Cindy Sebilski, she just asked me, "Hey, you are not here?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's a good question, but I'm in Prague, so I don't know." But it was something in my head, and from that point, I started thinking about it. But it's also kind of difficult for me to stop my work, my career in Prague. But I did it now for 3 months, but it's enough. It wasn't possible like longer, and like everyone in Czech Republic asked me, "So what is your deal? What is it?" It's like, I really don't know. I just won't be there, and I feel like big potential here, and it makes something with me, and I really like to see it and feel it. And I'm really surprised because I don't know, one thing I did with Ilona for 1 month. We did the art lab here in a Czech center for children, and it wasn't my plan, and I was really happy because it was amazing work together. Also work with the children. I met so many wonderful musicians. I think really Petra and so many people here, they are so supportive. So she connected me with the Matej Chip. So we will maybe record something together. So I'm still like amazed by that, and I'm happy, and we'll see. Yeah. So that's the reason. Yeah.
Thank you. You're open to opportunities.
I have 2 questions for Lenka Mashkova. First of all, I want to say your art is beautiful. And my 2 questions are, how did you discover your passion for art, and what does an average day in your life look like for you?
So much for the compliment. I was on gymnasium in Czech Republic, but since elementary school I joined like since first grade every Thursday afternoon drawing class in a house of pioneers, and I kept going there till I was 18. I tried to get into Damu, the puppetry, didn't get in. probably the worst portfolio that I ever saw. And then, then I got here. When I got here, I was cooking in the restaurant, working in cookie shop, cleaning, doing all different jobs. And then I kind of wanted to go to school. I felt a little lost in New York. I just felt I still didn't belong anywhere. And I took evening class at LaGuardia Community College, and it was an evening drawing. And once I got there, I'm like, I feel where I belong. Like I have a stable place. And then I decided to take the spring semester, and then I said, let me do something more practical, and it was commercial photography. And I went to see the, the guy who lead it, and he didn't even look at me. He kept walking. He goes, "No, you want fine arts. You fine arts." I'm like, okay. So I did fine arts, and then I painted a lot. I did sculpture, but I needed scholarship, and not many people wants to study sculpture. I'm like, if I apply for the sculpture, if I do the sculpture, I will get the scholarship. I do. And so, but there's the love of an object. I think it was always there. This kind of sculpture is something which exists with us. It's not on the wall. I love painting, but it's not a way. It's part of us where we function. So yeah, that's kind of that's how it happened. What was the second question? Oh, what's my daily life? No, I wake up at 5 o'clock. I do my 20-minute meditation. I meditate twice a day. And then I make the breakfast. At 6:30, we on the bus with my youngest daughter, who goes to school close to museum. My older one is in high school, so she goes by herself. She studies cartooning. We started the museum at 8, so today is close to public, so we kind of go around and Greco-Roman, so see what's happening. And then we install art. We installed today these 2 bronze lions, which are very fragile, and one leg is broken. So you gotta kind of 3 people hold it and try to fit it at the same time. Then I got to sit down a little bit, read, and I finish at 4. So I do my afternoon meditation before I leave work, so I can be happy on the way home. I do try to stop at the gym. That helps a lot too. And yeah, food prep and kind of basic things. The thing is, working at the museum is sometimes you work on call. So a lot of my artwork can happen in the museum, which I don't say aloud. It's kind of like behind the scenes. Did that answer that? Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, I think I would like to invite everyone who may have any lingering questions to join us at the back of the room. But one more.
One more question for Petra. How do you select your people for your residents, artists in residence?
So it's nothing official. As I said, I studied both Academy of Fine Arts and Umprum, and I think like half of AVO and 1/3 of Umprum lived and slept in our apartment, or many of our apartments. So pretty much like I'm surrounded by artists all the time. And so when I feel that, my husband and who is right there, and my children and we can coexist, then I sort of invite them into our circle and universe. So it has to somehow match. Like it's based on mecenářství, like art patronage that used to be that Czech and Bohemia had a very, very strong connection, but it's also on a personal, like we want to cultivate the personal connections. But now I have people who are asking me and say, can we come, So it's sort of like, again, the word of mouth. I hope that we can grow it into like this big community. And you should actually ask, Honza and Maciej, like what their experiences was there rather than me.
Okay, Honza.
So now, yeah, like you said, it's really wonderful to be out of the city sometimes, because I don't know, I was there last time, I was there for 10 hours maybe, just upstate in Great Nivas. And it's really helpful because it's in the nature, your family, they are so welcoming. And yeah, it's really, for me, it was super interesting, the Upstate Art Weekend last summer, because it's a full of really interesting people, artists from New York very often. And it's in the nature, you have wonderful small cities, wonderful galleries. and everyone is really like hungry for the art. So yeah, it's something nice, and I like to make something like that in Czech Republic maybe also.
Bonjour. So now I would like to invite you to mingle with our presenters and with fellow members of the audience in the back of the room for some wine and some snacks. And maybe as the audience is getting there, we would like to pull the presenters up to the front for a group photo. And one more round of applause, please, for our brilliant presenters.